He wants to ban guns. We're gonna impose manufacturer's liability on guns. There's 200 million guns in private hands in the United States. If we can eliminate 1 million a year, it'll take us 2 centuries to get down to the last 1 million guns, assuming they don't make any more. We need to take away the reason that people are shooting one another across the United States. We need to take the profit out of the drug business so that we're not arming kids in gangs to fight over who's going to control the corner, or who's going to control the building, or who's going to control the neighborhood. So we can have safe streets, safe neighborhoods, instead of drug war. It's heartbreaking. And then the drug war prisons. 7 million people under the control of law enforcement. We have 2.1 million at the time this Pew report came out. Actually, it's now 900,000 people arrested a year for marijuana. You know how much it costs to hire people, give them squad cars, give them cans of little gas. Well, you know, why do you have that leap then? What is that? Are you a policeman? And you can tell them why cops say legalize drugs. Not because they're in favor of drug use. We need to change the way the grassroots think, the way our neighbors think, the way our relatives think about drugs. Not because drugs are good, but because drug war is worse. And now, when it becomes so common that everybody says, yeah, we need to end the war on drugs. Yeah, we need to be drug tolerant. Yeah, drugs are not good, but prohibition of them is worse than the drugs themselves. And the politicians will hear what the grassroots are saying. And the politicians will do the right thing. Not because they're leaders, but because they're followers. And who are the leaders? You folks are. You are. So, the question again is, why has it lasted so long? The drug war gravy train. Who's in favor of doing something else? Leap is. Are you? Then you guys all say yes. You bet. Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, that's the spiel that I give. And it tries to put in context the thing that you're concerned about, and the thing that probably maybe principally brings you out today is medical marijuana. Do we need to win that battle? Absolutely. Do we need to win recreational marijuana in California? Absolutely. You know somebody in those states, right now California, do something about it. Send them an email. Tell them that we need yes votes. Not because drugs are good, but because drug war is worse. Well, I'm not going to penalize you guys. You're not in jail yet, so we're going to end this happy talk. Are there any questions or comments or anything before I wrap up my little presentation here?
How close did you come to winning the election?
We had like a 4-way race. I needed like 350,000. I had 150,000.
Would you ever run again?
Some reporter said, Jim, it's time to run again. But I don't know.
That's a good first time out. That's a good first time out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I thought this was an excellent talk that you gave.
Yes.
And this is more of a rhetorical question than a question. I'm thinking there's probably nobody here from the Appleton Police Department, and I'm wondering why it is. Moreover, I'm even wondering why it isn't somebody from the Appleton Police Department that's giving this one. I mean, shouldn't there be authoritative participation in this kind of an endeavor?
The old strategy used to be that if someone doesn't show up from the drug czar's office, from the U.S. Attorney's Office, from the state's attorney's office, from the district attorney's office, then many forums will not let you present because we're not going to give one side of the issue and not the others. I was supposed to speak at the Claremont colleges 15 years ago, and they said, well, we've got somebody lined up, and they said, no, they canceled, and they tried to get somebody else, and they canceled. Well, I never got to go to Claremont colleges in California to talk because simply by not showing up, not participating, they prevented me from speaking.
It's a form of censorship.
We didn't like what DeGriff was saying, who was the Attorney General in Colombia. The United States didn't want him to go to the United Nations and give his drug legalization speech. So what did the United Nations do? We withdrew his visa so that he couldn't get there to give his speech. So it's been squelched. You had your hand up the back.
Yeah, regarding what you said, what happened to
You're going to answer the rhetorical question?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
not with the police department. I used to be an employee there, was never a police officer, but was in training to become a police officer. I was a community service officer, everybody laughs since it's on all security, whatnot. Animal control, it was a great job, great experience, closest thing to becoming a cop without actually being one. And the basic reason I chose not to become an officer, to the disappointment of all my superiors, was drug enforcement. I was not a user at the time at all, never had been, did anything against it, but I learned through family members, starting to use marijuana for different illnesses, muscular dystrophy being the primary one, and finding out that I'm a patient myself and it's a huge benefit. The integrity just isn't there for a police officer to encourage use of something that can help, but at the same time arrest people that aren't doing anything illegal, other than something that's written on paper as illegal. And that's probably why you don't see police officers here. I'm still friends with a number of them, and a number of them know that I use marijuana on an occasional basis, and they're polite enough in the friendship that we unfortunately don't get to meet often enough, but they leave me alone, they understand. And it's a really hard spot. I feel really bad for a lot of police officers. There's, of course, a lot of police officers that drugs that are very, very evil, and you do arrest everybody, but they're in a pretty tough spot.
In all fairness, we didn't invite them to speak, but we made them aware that the event was happening.
Thank you.
Every time I go to a town, I make a point to go to the local police station and leave one of my LEAP brochures. Hopefully that it ends up on the bulletin board and they're talking about it. But if you folks enjoyed this talk, as kind of an aid to you, you can go on the LEAP website. And there's a tab that says publications. And then there's a sub-tab that says publications, which if you're an English teacher, that's a bad outline, right? But anyway, you get down to the second publication, and then about the third or the fourth article is this presentation. So you could have people over, you could hook your own TV up or whatever, your own computer, and you could go through and give my speech. Let me know how it goes. All right, well listen, I'm going to wrap it up, and I want to thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. It's the enthusiasm with which you go out to attack the problem which will make up for the sparse attendance today. But be sure to do it. Thank you.
Well, we have another 15 minutes. I mean, if we have any questions, final closing thoughts, concerns, I mean, we can go ahead and kind of keep it open forum. Go ahead.
In states like California that already have medicinal marijuana, and I mean, you think that across the board then law enforcement would be decreased? Does that happen? You know what I'm saying? Like, for instance, you're saying the war on drugs has a lot to do with the stimulus in law enforcement, you know, in what you said, Bill Clinton, when he was president or something like that. So that was all these jobs created for the war on drugs. Is that decreased when states legalize medicinal marijuana, or does that just stay the same, or what happens?
You want to answer?
Well, in countries where they have been more tolerant with marijuana, like in Holland, drug use is less. The use of hard drugs is less. The crime is less. Prison population is less. Everything is less. Problem in California